Welcome to the Great Mohau's YouTube channel, where Mohau explores everything science and technology.
Hey, Tech Talkers. Welcome back to Tech Talk Weekly with a computer science major. I'm your host, the Great Mohau, and this is episode 4 of season 2. Today, I have a special guest with me. This is Emmanuel. He will introduce himself, but yes, he's basically a software tester. So I'm just going to be asking him a few questions about his journey, his background, how he became a software tester. So yeah, just to provide you guys with more information, as I've already, interviewed a software engineer, intern, and a business analyst. If you didn't get a chance to watch that video or those videos, I will leave the link on top there so that you can check them out. Okay, so let me give Emmanuel the platform to introduce himself. Okay, thank you for taking the time to, be in this video.
No, thanks, bro. Thanks, bro. So, yeah, good afternoon to everyone, all the not listeners.
Yeah, I call them tech talkers.
Tech talkers, yeah.
Yeah,
Tech
I call
talkers.
them tech talkers.
All right, how's it going, tech talkers? So my name is Emmanuel Mdluli, and I hail from a small town towards the west called Krugersdorp. So I was born and raised that side in Manseville. Yeah, by profession, I am a software tester, and I've been in the field for more than 8 years.
Yeah, we've got some experience. Yeah. Okay, so no, that's great. That's great. Is there something else that you would like to add on?
I think yeah, we'll get to I'll get to add more things until the
Yeah.
the
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now hearing that, yeah, you've been in the field for like 8 years as a software tester. Let's start where it all began. You're in high school, like which subjects did you do in high school?
So in high school, I did so the main 4 subjects that I did, it was physical sciences, life sciences, geography, and mathematics.
All right.
And then yeah, so those were the main core subjects that I did. And then the rest in Ilbo English was gonna,
Yeah.
And yeah, those were the subjects that I did go back in high school.
Okay, no, that's great. So you see all those videos that I made about, the entry requirements into computer science, mathematics, English, they are there. Physical sciences, they are there. So yeah, please also check out those videos. That is episode 1 up until episode 3. So now you are done with the maths and science stream, and then you're going to university or tertiary. So what course did you pursue when you got to university?
So yeah, so when it comes to software testing is a bit different, especially for me, how I got introduced to it and how I started working as a software tester.
Yeah.
I'll just break it down. I know it might sound like I'm deviating from your question, but I just want to break it down. So how I got into the field is that I used to work as a support help desk technician.
Okay.
Right. And I used to work for this certain company. I won't mention it here. Yeah. I used to work for this certain company, and they had a couple of subsidiaries, and I used to work for one of their subsidiaries. And at that point in time, I was the only employee in South Africa. I used to work with the guys that were based in Mauritius.
All right.
Yeah, so in South Africa, I was the only employee. So while working there, the subsidiary continued for about 3 years or so. Then it was not doing that well, and I ended up finding myself in a position whereby I need to start looking for something else. And that's when my tech lead approached me to say that, hey, man, there's a vacancy on the software testing side within the company. So if you're interested, please drop in your CV. You might come right.
Yeah.
And at the time, I I knew nothing about software testing.
Oh,
Yeah, I knew there were software
Yeah.
testers, but yeah. So as I got there, that's when I started really understanding what software testing is and what it entails. So most of my experience, it was self-taught from the job. I learned from the job, right? And after a year, I decided to go for my ISTQB certificate. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is that with software testing, you can get your ISTQB certificate, which is internationally recognized, and you do not really need to enroll with a university. You can do it with companies like IT, Talk IT,
Yeah.
or Impimpi, or a couple of other companies.
Okay. No, that's great. So you don't necessarily have to go to university to become a software tester. Now, with these certifications, these are certifications, right? Or
Yes.
they are very, yeah.
These are certificates.
Okay, these certifications, do you pay for them or there are bursaries available for people who want to pursue these certifications?
With regards to bursaries, I'm not sure, to be honest. I had to pay for my own.
Yeah.
So you pay for the classes, online classes, and you also pay for the exam. So, but then I took the shortest route. I went the route of LinkedIn Learning, and Udemy, and then from there I went straight to the exam. Luckily, I was able to pass.
You were able to pass.
Yeah,
Now check out, LinkedIn Learning. I'm also, doing some courses there. So
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's how you also get, certifications, so yeah. Okay. But then like a bar mark, how much did it cost you? I mean, I know it's years back, but how much did it cost you and how much do you think it costs today?
Today. Yeah. All right. So years back when I inquired, the whole course, including classes, it was something like 13,500.
Yeah.
So what I did is, so Udemy, the subscription, I paid my subscription. I think it's back around those times, it was around $600 yearly. Yeah. And yeah. So the only major amount of money that I had to pay was for the exam. So the exam was 2,800.
All right. Okay, so and then that gave a total of 13 or
So I didn't go the 13 route.
Oh,
So yeah, so
okay, yeah.
I went through LinkedIn Learning and Udemy.
Then the exam.
And then the exam.
Okay. So if you're doing the entire process, it's like 13,000.
Around 13,000.
Okay. So today maybe it can be like 20K or 15K somewhere there.
Very close.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. But now I'm more interested because you mentioned or you were working as a technician initially before you became a software tester. Like as a technician, like what would you do? What was your daily routine?
So as a technician, my daily routine was, making sure that everything runs smoothly in a nutshell.
Right.
So making sure that our sites are up. That's the first thing. Making sure that because this company that I used to work for, we developed softwares in house for banks, attorneys, and stuff. So my my job at the time, it was to make sure everything was running smoothly. And I also did a bit of testing back then. And to be honest with you, I didn't know there was testing. Yeah. So I would be in in Teams meetings with the guys from Mauritius and stuff, and then we would test, like really test. And when there's deployments as well, I'd also be present, to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Okay. No, that's great. Can you explain to our viewers, the tech talkers, what is in-house building? Because you mentioned like the websites were in-house.
Yes. So in-house building, so I would put it this way. So we did not use we did use external softwares or things like IDEs like DevOps, not DevOps, sorry,
Visual Studio.
Visual Studio Code. But then so we also manufactured or developed softwares in-house for the banks because this company that I used to work for, it's a what's the word? Okay. It's we work directly with the banks. We work
fintech, maybe?
It's fintech.
Fintech.
Yes. So it's a fintech company. And so we work directly with attorneys and
no, that's great. And then now you're working as a software tester, right? This is like probably years later after you were like a technician, you didn't become a technician for that long.
I didn't. I was a technician for 3 years.
For 3 years.
For 3 years, and then after that, that's when I started pursuing software testing while learning in the job. So that also, that lasted a very long time. But then at this point in time, I do not work as a software tester. So I am pursuing something different. So I'm pursuing something different, something that I've always wanted.
Makes sense. So as a software tester, since you took out like your daily routine as a technician, as a software tester, what was like your daily routine? Like from getting up in the morning, what is it that you do?
So sure, I'm not gonna lie to you. Software testers go through a lot, just like everybody else, to be honest. So I would sit for deployments, and then when the deployment fails, we have to be there and make sure that everything runs smooth. We'd stay up until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and 8 a.m. you must be in the office. In most cases, that was like that's something that happened like on a frequent basis. But if I were to explain like a life of a software tester in a nutshell, waking up in the morning, preparing to go to work. When you get to work, the first thing you do, you make sure that everything is running. Your Visual Studio is running. I'm mentioning Visual Studio because I also did automation. I was an automation tester. So as you know, there's two types of testing. There's manual testing and automation testing. So you'd make sure that DevOps is in order. Visual Studio is running. You make sure that if there's something that you had to, like your test results, make sure that the test results that you saved yesterday, they're still there, everything is still running, because it's very important to keep proof and keep track of what you're working on.
Okay, no, that's great. And the relationship between software developers and software testers. I did ask this question to the business analyst, because I mean, if you're a software developer or a software engineer, those words are used interchangeably. But then, okay, you keep on getting bugs, right? And of course, with the bugs, you get tickets, right?
Yes,
which are the tickets? You're the one who issues the tickets, or is it the business analyst?
So how we used to do it on our side, it was the business analyst who issued the ticket. So yes. So if I come across a bug, I would go and sit down with him, show him what I'm talking about, and then he would issue the ticket.
Okay. No, that's great. So the relationship, I believe, it has to be like a strong relationship, honestly. And then the skills that are required for a person to become like a software tester, what are the skills that you would say, okay, now these are the skills that you need?
You need to be a multitasker. That's number one. You need to be a multitasker. And number two, you need to be a people's person in that way. But what I mean by that is that you need to be able to communicate. I mean, communication is very important in testing, because it's one thing that can make a project go that way or that way. So communication, being open, transparency. You need to be transparent, and so this will also take us back to communication. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, if you don't know how to communicate with people or speak with people, you might be saying the right things, but then somebody else will pick it up as disrespectful or something.
That happens.
So it's very important to know how to speak to people and also be able to read between the lines and read the room.
Definitely. So I believe also the developmental subjects, English, home language. So those are soft skills that will basically help you out when it comes to like, communication, right?
100%.
Okay. No, great. I really, is there maybe any advice that you would give to anybody who's in high school right now and they want to become like a software tester?
Yes, I do. So one of the main things I would say, or an advice that I would give to someone who's interested, or someone who wants to come through as a software tester, I would really encourage people to, or students to research and investigate and know what software testing is about and what it entails. Because you don't want to get caught up like I did. I got caught up. I thought it was okay, software testing, we're testing software. So I got there. It's a very broad field. So you need to be, I think, out of investigating and knowing what software testers do, that will also spark up passion in you, because that's the main thing that you need. You need to be passionate about what you do, because if you are not, you're going to find yourself in a position whereby you're even lazy to do the most basic things. Sorry about that. Yeah. So I would say the first thing, know what it's about, know what it entails, have passion for it. It requires passion just like many other things. And you have to remember it's testing.
Yeah.
So testing is very important. I mean, you go to any manufacturing plant, if you're going to manufacture a car or speakers, anything requires testing. And it needs to be tested rigorously to make sure that it'll operate optimally. So testing is very important because you're more like a goalkeeper. You're more like a goalkeeper. You just at the end, should something go wrong, the first person to be blamed will be the tester.
The tester, yeah. No.
Why didn't you catch that bug?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true, because even with the design thinking methodology, which is a methodology we utilize when it comes to like in actors, but I mean, even in the scientific method, right? When we come with like theories and all that, there's the scientific method. So testing is always there. After the prototype is designed, you need to test the prototype. So hence why testing is important. So to anybody who's like, studying computer science, would you say, okay, fine, you don't necessarily have to apply for a vacancy in software testing. Maybe go to the software development side of it and then learn while you're in the company. If maybe they do have software testers, then try to maybe hop in through the company, not just, straight from university to software testing.
So okay, I'd put it this way. I think it's very important as a developer to understand what testing entails and what testing is about, and the skills, to know the skills as well, because after developing, there's a level of testing that you're going to do there as well.
Yeah.
And also as a tester, it's important for you to understand what development is about, and so that you understand where developers come from when they come across with issues, or if they're struggling with something, you will have like a sense of what's happening, especially if you understand like the programming languages and stuff. So what I'm pretty much trying to say is that it's important to have both skills if you are within an IT space or in a certain company.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can enter the company through development or one of the two, but at the end of the day, I personally believe it's important to understand what both what both of these roles require and what they entail.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. And you mentioned something in software testing. There's the manual part of it and the automation. Would you maybe try to explain to the viewers what the manual and the automation have to deal with?
Okay.
Yeah.
So manual testing, it's actually manual testing. It's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
So you are testing manually. You are opening things manually. You're opening your tools and then you're testing. If you're testing a website, so you will open the website, make sure you're doing your functionality testing right, and make sure that everything runs smoothly. The button does what the button is supposed to do. You don't want to press about and then it takes you to SAA or a different website.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that everything works optimally. So now automation testing. Now that's also self-explanatory. It's automated.
Yeah.
So, but then the automation part comes with you as an automation tester to write a code.
Oh,
Yes.
right. Yeah.
So you basically write code, and then when you start testing, you're just gonna run the code, and then it'll run. It'll take snapshots if you had like snapshot lines. It'll basically at the end it'll give you all your test results and everything. So automation testing that's what saves time basically. In testing, manual testing takes more time and it's more rigorous. You go through a lot of things. So with automation testing, you will go through a whole lot of things for that week while writing the code, but going forward, you just run.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah. Okay. No, that's great. That's great. No, thank you for, taking your time to be part of the show once again. I don't know if Tech Talkers have any questions. Please put them in the comment section. And then, your questions will be answered. I believe this, video was very informative and you got the information that's necessary, because I know there's somebody out there who's thinking of becoming a software tester. There's somebody out there who's thinking of becoming a software engineer, right? And then, yeah, or maybe you are a software tester and you want to become a software engineer. You can basically go into software engineering, although you're into software testing. So, okay. Thank you, Tech Talkers. Keep coding and see you in the next episode. Shout out.
Brought to you by Royal Mercy Institute.